You want me to? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I was at the Aranya. So basically, just like a forest, every time we look at the forest, the forest would look different in every single picture. And as much as it shows you, as many different dimensions, as many things that it shows you, that much it hides and that much it reveals every day differently. Each person, one person would love the trunk, somebody else would love the leaves, somebody else would love the flowers, somebody would love the creepers. At the same time, somebody may hate the worms over there. They may not like something, they may not like certain types of leaves. So there is a lot of space for different thought processes, different thinking, and even our ancient mantras, our ancient practices, our gods, each of them have that space for you to like them, for you to not like them, for you to accept them. And then you can change it based on your needs. Today, I want the shade of the tree. Tomorrow, I want the flowers of the tree. Tomorrow, I don't want the tree at all. All of that is acceptable in this beautiful thought process that we have in our land. So that is a basis on which I am going to today look at one of the most popular mantras in the Hindu religion, that is the Gayatri mantra, which is one of the, it's a very ancient mantra. It's part of the Vedas, and it is told by Hindus of, and non-Hindus again. It is something that is very easily recognizable, and I am presenting my thought on that today. Mainly, the Gayatri mantra would be one of the first mantras that is taught to a child. It's like other mantras you may hear, it is optional. You have, each house has its own dinacharya mantras. You say, you have prayers to different gods. But the Gayatri mantra is one which is actually part of the education system. So I'm going to be putting, saying a little bit about the education system, which was prevalent till, say, even the 17th century, till about 17th century. This is the education system which most of Bharatavarsha, in all the homes in Bharatavarsha, they followed this. The first part of the education would start at home. So the education would be called Vidyarambha. That is when a baby is started talking full sentences around 3 years old, 4 years old, when the baby child starts talking full sentences. I want this, I want that. At that time, normally on Vijayadashmi or any other, good day like Saraswati Puja or Vijayadashmi, you will call the elder of the house. It could be the father, grandfather, guru, any learned uncle, or would take the baby in the lap, and on a rice plate will write Om, or will write a few aksharas, the aksharas. So the learning, the language, the learning of the language, the learning of the alphabets, the basic writing would be the commencement of the learning at home. Almost everybody, be it a boy, girl, everybody in the house would learn to write from the age of 3 or 4 years old, and it would be through this. This is the beginning of the education. And from that 3-year-old, almost about 9 years, 11 years, their children would be learning, their learning process would be at home. So mainly the learnings would be the basics, which is say Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Asana. Those are the first part of the Ashtanga, which is taught to them. Yama is basically observances. Yama would be, say, when is the Ekadasi happening in our house? How do we sit down and eat? And then how the different festivals are celebrated. This is what the child is explained about. The stories are taught to the child. Then your mother or ladies would have Dhuram, that is when they have their time of the month, or when they have muddy, that is when they are cooking, they would not touch anybody, those kinds of things. And then you have Niyama. How would you have a bath, basically? How often, when will you cut your hair? So normally you would cut your hair around Amavasya time. And then you had your, when would how would you have that oil pulling and washing of your mouth? How would you take care of yourself? And then, of course, pranayama and asanas. How will you sit down? Where will you sit down? How will you stand? How will you sit? All these are taught between the ages of 3 or 4 all the way up to when they are 9 or 11 years old. When they find that the baby is learned all this is when the next step of the education happens. The next step of the education is Upanayana. Upanayana is actually where the Gayatri Mantra is taught, among other things. And this is the time when the baby is ready to leave home and go into formal education. So in the formal education, the first mantra that is taught is the Gayatri Mantra. And then, of course, when the child is ready and they have learned whatever is the basic education that they need when they are graduating, they go into Samavartana. Samavartana is the graduation ceremony. So these were the basic education system of Bharatavarsha all the way up to the 17th century or so. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Upanayanam in particular because it is when the Gayatri Mantra was taught to the child. That is why I was saying that years I am looking at the Gayatri Mantra from a 9-year-old or a 11-year-old's point when they are taught the Gayatri Mantra. So the Upanayanam ceremony is the beginning of education for the child. So what happens in the Upanayanam? Number one is the child till then is Babu, Chintu, Kutti, and different other baby names. So when they get the Upanayanam, the father will explain the Gotram, the Kulam, where does the child come from, what is the Veda they follow, are you Yajurvedi, are you Rigvedi, are you Samavedi? So they're taught which Veda the family follows, who is the Kuladaivam, who is their grandfather's name, what is their full name. And from then onwards, the child is not considered an extension of the parents. Every time he sees an elder in the house or an uncle or whoever, whenever he gets introduced, he will put his hands on his ears and he will say Abhivadaya. He will explain him, he will introduce himself as the person, what is his kulam, what is his gotram. So the child gets his identity at this age. So he is ready to go out and get educated. So the first step for it would be learning his identity. The second step is independence and empowerment. Like I said, till then, mama would be chasing the baby, Babu, come and eat. So, you chase the baby, put the baby on your lap, eat, give them food to eat, give them bath. All that is by the time when the child is ready, saying he will be able to, like I said, the 4 Ashtangas, the Yama, Niyama. Yama is the observances. Niyama is the, taking care of yourself, your cleanliness. And then pranayama, how you breathe, how you, exercise. And then asana, same thing. When do you sit? How do you sit? How do you stand? All that when you have learned, that is when you're ready, you come out and then and how do you explain this? That during the Upanayanam ceremony, from that day onwards, your mother is not going to chase you and give you food. You will have to say Bhikshan Dehi to your mother, first to your mother, then all your aunts, your grandmothers, your all the ladies in the house will give the Bhiksha to the baby as a blessing. And because from then onwards, he is responsible for himself. He cannot be, he will not no longer be a responsibility to be fed and taken care of. He will have to learn to take care of himself. And then, of course, the third part is the Gayatri Mantra. It is called the Upadesha. So the father will explain, or the guru will teach the exact pronunciation of the Gayatri Mantra to the child. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how the child at that age, at 9 years or 11 years, what is it that they are looking for, the basic part of the Gayatri Mantra. As the children grow up or as we become adults, or the Gayatri Mantra has different meanings to you at every age, at every point of time. But we are looking at it, how it looks right in the beginning at the very basic form. The Gayatri Mantra is always normally told. We are going to see when. So it is normally told at Sandhi, at the time that there is a difference when there is dawn, or when it is dusk, or when it is madhyan. Any one of these times is when you do the vandana to the Savitar or the Surya Bhagwan, and to the sun, our energy giver. So it is always told at the time of Sandhi. So it is, either at the brink of dawn, or the brink of dusk, or the middle of the day. Preferably, most of my explanation today would be about the dawn practice or the dusk practice. The direction, the person who is saying the Gayatri mantra, you face the sun when you say it. So it is always while facing the sun. It's either facing east or facing west. You look at the sun while you do the Gayatri mantra. And how do you do it? The Gayatri mantra was created by, or rather told by Vishwamitra, the sage Vishwamitra. And it was told in the Gayatri meter. So that is the name of the meter. The meter has 24 syllables, 8 verses. And so each of that, it's always told at the time. So the rhythm is the Gayatri meter. And it is told when there is a breath out. So when someone breathes out, that is when they will say the Gayatri mantra. It's always, and there are commas there and there are breaks. That is when you take a breath in the middle. So you start with Om, and so you say Om. And if I was a little child, this is how I would explain it to them. Om would be the beginning of the Gayatri mantra. Then Bhur, you look at the earth. You look at the earth below your feet. Bhuvaha, you look at the horizon and the environment around you. Swaha, you look at the sky on top, or at the clouds and the sky. Tat Savitur Varenyam, you pray you give your adoration to the sun. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, you, along with the sun, you invite all the gods into your, to come and bless you, so that your day goes off very beautifully. So that is the basic explanation of a Gayatri mantra. I'm going to be going into a little more after this. Let me just look at the chat. Yes, sir, I will try. So we begin with, before we begin, you will first put your hand as a namaste, and then lift the namaste above your head. So why do we do namaste? In our body, we have two different energies flowing. You have a downward flowing energy, which is called the Ida, which is a liquid energy. It flows downwards, it's cold, and it's the female cold energy that goes downwards. And you have the Pingala, which is the heat or the upward flowing movement. When you close your palms together, you complete that circuit. So you make the heat and the cold of your body get together. And then when you lift it above your head with your feet together, you get that center of gravity in your body. So you're basically, all your energies come to the center, or the Manipura chakra. And so it helps you center your body. That is, from the top to the bottom, your body is nicely balanced and centered to get the energy of the sun. So you are facing the sun, you put your hands together, you lift your hands above your head and give yourself a good stretch. And then we say Om. So the way you say Om is always, like I said, you take a nice deep breath, and when you breathe out, you say Om. When you put your hands up above your head and you say Om, you will see that all the 33 vertebrae, right from the bottom of, when you say O, it hits the bottom of your neck, from your neck bone all the way up to your tailbone. All the 33 vertebrae will vibrate with that energy. That is the best part of the Om, and saying it early in the morning. What a beautiful way to wake up every morning. It's like a nice good stretch to your spine, a nice good stretch to your body, and all the main important spine, the spinal cord and the vertebrae are all getting into place, but through this vibration, through the vibration of Om. So this is how we begin the Gayatri Mantra. The next word in the Gayatri Mantra is Bhur. Like I said, the baby or the child who's doing it will look at the earth and smell the earth. When you say Bhur, Om Bhur, you look at the earth. And while they say it throughout the year, sometimes during summer, they will smell the earth. They will smell the dusty summer, the dust of the earth. You will smell the sand, the dry sun. During the winter time, they will smell the petrichor or the wet earth, the water on the earth, that beautiful rain smell. During the winter time, you will smell dew on leaves which are there on the ground. Because of autumn, the leaves have fallen on the ground and the beautiful dew is set on it. So you will have that wet leaves smell. And then you have spring, when you will smell flowers, when you will smell new leaves. So Bhur, the child becomes aware when you look at the earth and you say Bhur. Throughout the year, at different times of the year, there is some new smell for you to enjoy and new look for you to notice. Bhuvaha, when you look at the horizon and you look at the environment around you, what do you see? Normally, when you wake up, like I said, early in the morning, the Gayatri Mantra is told, it is at Brahma Muhurtam. Though we expect Brahma Muhurtam to be 4 o'clock, Brahma Muhurtam, according to me, would be closer to, I would say, about half an hour before the Suryodaya. You enjoy the Suryan, how the earth will start with, you have the darkness, you wake up, you see the daybreak slowly happening, the shades of the sky changes every minute. So from complete dark, within that half an hour, it will go from gray to orange to purple. So you find beautiful shades to see early in the morning when you do that half an hour before daybreak. When you say the Gayatri Mantra, you will enjoy that change in the light around you, along with the change of light. So that is why you do it during Sandhi. If you're doing it at dusk also, you will enjoy the change of light during the dusk time, from darkness to light and from light to darkness. Another is you will feel this fresh burst of energy. All the trees around you, they will change their breathing cycle. Until then, they are breathing out carbon dioxide. There will be a fresh burst of oxygen in the atmosphere. So there will be, when you take a deep breath in and breathe out at that time, you are enjoying that fresh burst of oxygen, increase of oxygen in the atmosphere around you. So when you have the early morning sun streaming at you through the leaves, this is what you would enjoy. The third one you'd enjoy is the entire atmosphere around you is waking up. The first ones to wake up are normally the birds. So during different times of the year, you will hear different birds. Sometimes you will hear the rooster, sometimes you will hear the crow, sometimes you will hear miners. And if around, like if it is at this time of the year, normally you will hear, if you are awake at early in the morning now, you will hear the beautiful, the little baby birds who are just been born, because this is the time when most of the nests are full of birds. If you wake up early in the morning, you'll hear all the hungry baby birds around. Bhuvaha, when you look at that, you'll also feel the breeze on you. The breeze on around you would be the beautiful, you will realize that when, even if there's no wind across the day, sometimes during summertime, you won't have wind. Early morning or during dusk, there is always a little bit of breeze blowing. It's not like strong winds, but it's always a little bit of breeze blowing. And the breeze doesn't always blow the same way. Half the time you will find it on your, suppose you're facing the east, half the year you will feel the breeze on your back, and the other half of the year you will feel the breeze in the front of you. So like now, if you face the sun, you will feel the breeze blowing at you rather than behind you. And then same thing, once the, post June, you will feel it behind you. So half the year you become aware of how the breeze is blowing around you. Then you go to Swaha, the sky. When you look at the sky, you will see that the sky sometimes, like now also, you will see a beautiful gray shade with a lovely orange. This is how the sky looks right now at this time of the year. The sky has this is very clear and beautiful early in the morning, full of fog, of course. There is a lot of fog, but if the fog clears, you will see a cloudless sky, which is filled with, which has a beautiful orange shade to it. If it is the, when you post February, you will start seeing the spring one where there will be a few shades, well, purple shades in the sky, which will be the cumulus clouds. The cumulus clouds will be around you. Or you have the cumulonimbus. If you have a little bit of the summer rain coming in, you will have the cumulonimbus clouds, or you will have the stratus clouds, which will be this big, thick, cottony storm coming in kind of clouds. So you will have at different times of the year, different kinds of clouds on the sky to see. So it's an interesting thing for a little child to grow up, wake up to, and even for not just a child, anybody of any age, if you wake up to and you do it with this, you'll enjoy all these different shades to see around you. Tatsavitur Varenyam. I pray to the sun. So when I show my love to the sun, you realize that this is the only time of the day you get to see the sun. Early in the morning, you see the sun. Otherwise, late in the or during dusk, you see the sun. This is the only time you are able to see the beautiful shades of the sun, the beautiful color of the sun, because the rest of the day, you can't see our energy giver. Also, there are many, many things of good parts of looking at the sun early in the morning. Of course, you get the most important vitamin D. It is liver cleansing. If you remember, you have little small children when they are babies and they have, a jaundice or something. We take them out in the sun and show them to the early morning sun. It kicks in that bilirubin. And so obviously there is a lot of liver cleansing that happens just by looking at the sun early in the morning, enjoying that little bit of sunshine. It affects your liver in a very good way. You increase your eyesight. Now, along with the Gayatri mantra, there are in different parts of India, you also have a habit of putting the offering water to the sun. It could be into a river, or sometimes it's just on land. You take the water and you offer it to the sun. Now, the reason that happens is because the water splits the sun into it works as a prism, and so you will find all the 7 colors which will go into the 7 chakras, the 7 energy chakras, areas around your body. It will go, the corresponding colors will reflect on your body. Such a lovely way to wake up in the morning, where your body gets energized by all the colors that the sun offers. Diyo Yona Prachodayat. There is a child will understand the different, because he needs to face the sun, east or west. So he will understand which is east, west, north or south when you look at when they face the sun in the morning. You'll also realize that you're not always standing at the exact same spot looking at the sun. When you look at the sun, you'll realize that sometimes you're facing northeast, and another around 5-6 months down the line, you are facing southeast. So you move 2 to 3 degrees every single day just by looking and doing namaskar to the sun. You realize that your feet are moving by a few degrees every day, and throughout the year you are changing complete 180 degrees and back while you are doing the bandhana in the morning. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Like I said, we are through the Gayatri, we are calling on all the different gods who are related with the sun. You're telling along with the sun, we pray to all the gods to come and bless us so that the day would be beautiful. At each age, when you are an 8-year-old, you can just look at the basics and you can just look at the environment. But as you grow older, the same mantra with the same breathing, it brings in different kinds of energies into your body. You realize your material world, your physical world, your spiritual world. You realize the importance of the sun. You realize the different gods that you want to call upon at different times of your life. You want to call upon different gods, And then, the way you say Om differs as you grow older, you say Om in different ways. And then also the Gayatri mantra is so important and so, um, it's such a popular mantra and it is so beautiful that because it is told early in the morning, you could choose your Ishta Devata. Tomorrow, I'm going through a lot of trouble. I want Vigna Harata. So I would say a Gayatri mantra to the Ganesha. The 8, just the same 24 syllables, the same beautiful meter gives you those energies. So you can give it to your Ishta Devata. Like I said, like the Aranya, in the Hindu religion, you are allowed to kind of pray to any particular god as per your choice. Tomorrow, I want to feel love, I will say Krishna. When I want to pray to earth, I will say Bhagavati. When I want knowledge, I will say Sant Saraswati. I want strength, I would say Hanumanji. Like for me, right now, because I'm menopausal, I would pray to Varuna Deva because Swadishta, I want the water in my body. So I have the Varuna Deva Gayatri, Varuna Gayatri that I say along with the Gayatri mantra. So different times of your life, the Gayatri takes in different shapes and different meanings throughout your life. More than anything else, early in the morning, when you look at the changing leaves, when you look at the changing flowers, when you look at the changing insects at different times, certain times you'll see a slug, certain times you'll see nothing, you'll see different sounds that the cows and animals make during the daybreak. You'll see different butterflies at different times of the year. It will give you a beautiful way to know how your day will be like just by looking around you at early in the morning. At that time, you would no longer need to have an AccuWeather to tell you how your day is going to be like. Just by looking at everything around you, you will know. Just by saying the Gayatri mantra for those 5 minutes, you realize how your day is going to be like and how blessed your day is going to be. With that thought, I say thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of you would have a lot of different informations. Today, I was only looking at the environmental point of view, but there will be a lot more different ideas and thoughts that you would like to share. I would love to hear them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was a very informative, new type of information. I didn't know about that.
Thank you so much, sir.
But nowadays, they say you have to say another Om before Tatsavitur Varenyam.
Correct, yes. You can say before every line when you say Om, it's the same thing, sir. There, like I said, there are, in fact, actually, there are 3 types of Om. The men will normally say after a particular age, the men will say Om. That is, you fill up your face with O and you move the or the Anuswara through your different chakras. So you say O, whereas the women want it's the same thing, the male energies and the female energies. So when you want to activate the female energy, you fill up. For men, they already have the male energy. So they will activate the female energy. They say O, and they move the energy downwards into the different chakras. The same thing, the females would say, so you are trying to move the female energies, or you want the Pingala energy, the upward movement of energy for a female. So she will say, so the Om is different, and then slightly different for a male and a female, or for based on the kind of energy you want to have. And you can say it before everyone. Like it's 24 syllables, 8 syllables. Before every 8 syllables, you can say Om. It will give you better energy.
How about starting with the deep inhalation, and while exhaling, starting from the Nabi, Uma, and when the outgoing breath reaches neck, Ma will start like that. Uma.
Correct, sir. That is what we said. That is you are trying to, when you are looking for the Pingala energy, that is, you want the heat to increase in your body, then you say So because the Swadhisthana chakra or your stomach, you are starting with the energy on your stomach, you're moving it on your back. So when you say from your stomach and you push the energy on your spine, it hits the back of your head, that's a heating energy. When you say, oh, it moves through the front of your body. It is a cooling energy.
Okay. Why ladies are advised not to recite Gayatri Mantra?
Because it, like there was a picture there actually. It energize it. If you say, there was a pic. Shall I share that picture again? 1 minute. Can you see this picture? 1 minute. Oh, sorry. This is, if you say the Gayatri Mantra in the correct way, you can see
Okay.
what it is increasing. It is increasing the upper part of your body. Your skull is the one which is getting hugely energized. You're sending all the energies from the bottom part of your body onto the top. You are going to be breathing out while you're saying the Gayatri Mantra. So you breathe in, and each one of it is like literally like doing Kapalbhati. It's through the breath out that you're saying the Gayatri Mantra. When you see it this way, the upper part of your body gets energized. When a girl in her reproductive age says this very often, and if she puts the heat up on top of her body when she says the Gayatri Mantra very often, and there is a increase of energy or heat on the upper part of the body, it will lead to extra hair growth on her face. When a boy says it, his biceps, triceps, his shoulders, all this increases. For a woman, you do not want that kind of increase. You want the energy to be in the stomach area. You do not, that is why, you want her energies need to be on near her Swadhisthana chakra, because for her menstrual cycles, for her to be in her reproductive age, it's very important. When you move the energies upwards, it affects the basically the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. There is a whole lot of things about it. So you can say the Gayatri Mantra 1 or 2 times in, whenever you can, but when you say it very often, it definitely increases the heat in your body. It causes like simple thing like, hormonal changes are there. It causes pimples and different other things, which is, it's useful for boys. It's not useful for girls. That's the only reason.
Later stages, it's okay.
Later stages, like, yes, obviously, once you finished your reproductive cycle, you could, but this is what you want. Like every mantra has a particular kind of energy. The Gayatri Mantra is an upward moving energy, and it is an energizer. It is not a cooling down. Like, so if you say it very after dusk, it's going to energize you. You won't be able to sleep. So you have different kinds. The same thing, the difference between Vishnu Sahasranamam, Lalita Sahasranamam. They are told at different times of the day, simply because you want that cooling down or you want the heating up. Based on what is your necessity at that time, you say that particular mantra.
Thank you very much.
The Mahamrityunjay version of Gayatri Mantra is for Shiva.
Yes, sir.
I have already written the question. Please read my question.
We'll do that, sir. I will do that. Is Mahamantra a version for Shiva? Yes, I guess, because they are written by different people. The Gayatri Mantra is what has come to Vishwamitra, the sage Brahma Rishi Vishwamitra. Mahamrityunjaya Mantra was told by Vashishta. It is written by Vashishta. The thought processes are different. The Gayatri Mantra is, Vishwamitra's, all his mantras to a large extent deal with transformative. He himself is a transformative person. He is a rishi who was a king, and he transformed himself through different ways to become a Brahma Rishi. So all his mantras are about transformation. Vashishta, even if you go to read the Yoga Vashishta or you read Vashishta, any of the works of Vashishta, his is about sustenance. It's about rebirth. It's about that your kula is not going to disappear. So the Mahamrityunjaya mantra is about sustenance and not about transformation. So they are slightly different from each other. The Mahamrityunjaya mantra is obviously, it is told to Shiva. The Gayatri mantra is not really told to any particular god. It is just an adoration towards the Savitra or the energy giver. It could also be, if you want to add your Ishta Devata to it, there are different Gayatri mantras for your Ishta Devata.
Okay, thank you.
If anybody would like to share any of their own knowledge, I would be so happy. I did not, like I remember, I realized that I did not mention about the Janayu. Yashpal ji, you had asked about the Janayu. Yes, during the presentation, when I was talking about Upanayana, there is a, during the Upanayana, they are given the Janayu. Janayu is primarily, again, because the 3 out of the 4 Varnas, the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas are the ones who did the Upanayana ceremony. So that's why they were called the twice born. They were born into their education. Education was an important part of their growth. And so the Janayu was born. And so you have 3 strands. One represents mainly of parents are telling you, that you need to have the purity in thought, words, and actions. And then you have so these 3 threads are thoughts, words, and actions. And it goes from the left shoulder to the right shoulder. And so there are different mantras for it. I'm not very clear about it. Yeah. So. Yashpal ji, yes, sir. I'm not an expert in this. I just given my thought on environment of this.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on what you said.
Yes, sir.
And basically, one is on the Vedas. Now, Vedas was reading all the 4 Vedas was a qualification. And if you say in the north, in many places, the surnames, there are 4 surnames given.
Correct.
One is Vedi, the other is Duvedi, the third is Trivedi, and 4th is Chaturvedi. So the minimum qualification was at least 1 Ved. So
Yes,
Brahmin, Kshatriya, etc. did not matter. It was the qualification.
Yes,
that
even
everybody
even
should
during the Abhivadya, they will say, no, the child is told which is the Veda that his family
So when
primarily
yeah,
follows.
so I have not read all, so I might be somewhere in Vedi or whatever. But that was the qualification. A graduation was the Chaturvedi. So that is
Yes, sir.
one. The second is about the 3 threads that pass through during the Janayu. These are the 3 debts that every single person owes. The first debt is to the parents. So the first thread represents the parents, or first thread actually represents God Almighty. All right. And it could be the energy giver by whatever name. It is one single God that we call. The second thread is the debt you owe to your parents. And the third is the thread that you owe to the Guru. Okay, so when the child is about 5, between 5 and 7, that is the most ideal time for the Janayu ceremony. And that is the time when he leaves home and goes to the ashram. Okay, so this ceremony is done to remind him that these 3 people are the ones you owe a debt, and you have always throughout your life have to carry on or repay for what they have given you. So this is the significance of the mantra. And the Gayatri mantra is, of course, I do not agree with the part about the male and the female. It is universal. And nobody really chants the Gayatri mantra more than once or twice a day in any case. And if you see when we perform the Havan, it starts with Om. And it ends with Idanamam. Now, Idanamam, the literal translation is, it is all yours. That means it is also a thanksgiving mantra. That is, it also conveys to God that nothing is mine. It is all given by you.
It is all yours.
Tera tujhko arpan. And this brings in a lot of humility. Right. And so this is the significance of all the mantras, and they end with Namam when you perform the home, which we do, every week. So, so this is what I thought I would just put in, and if I can recite the Gayatri Mantra with the meaning, then it would perhaps convey also what the literal meaning of the Gayatri Mantra is. If Chitra would permit and you would permit, then
Yes, of course, sir. Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We look forward to that.
yeah. So it is Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nam Prachodayam. तूने हमें पैदा किया और पालन कर रहा है तू, तुझसे ही पाते ज्ञान हम, दर्द और दुख करता है तू, तेरा महान तेज है और फैला हुआ सभी जगह, सृष्टि की वस्तु वस्तु में हो रहा विद्यमान तू, तेरा ही धरते ध्यान हम और मांगते हैं ये दुआ, भगवान हमारी बुद्धि को नेकी के रास्ते पर चला. So basically it is enlightenment of your buddhi and the prayers to God that to say neki ke raste par. For good deeds your mind should
Perfect.
always work good. So this is what I thought I would just.
Thank you so much, sir. Very nice. Beautiful. Is there anybody else who would like to share some wonderful thoughts?
Can I add something, Ma?
Yes,
Hello?
of course. Yes, sir. Please, sir. Please.
See, normally this Gayatri is always worshipped as a 3 different gods. See, you have been talking about it. See, in the morning is Gayatri. In the afternoon, it is Savitri. And in the nights, it is Saraswati.
Wow.
So,
Yes.
all 3 gods put together is treated as a Gayatri. That is one. And the practice throughout India is that in South, it is practiced in a different way. In the North, it is also, as Saab was explaining, it was all the good. It is the way in which it is, presented and practiced in the North. In the South, and especially these 3 threads, people have been talking about these 3 threads. See, in the South, what they say is that the first thread of the 3 is just to establish that he becomes qualified to go to a Pathasala and learn Veda. That is the first stage. And
Brahmacharya.
second, Brahmacharya. He becomes a Brahmachari and he is qualified to go to a Pathasala and learn Veda. Sir has very clearly explained about this Chaturveda. That is one thing. That is a qualification. So again, the second of these 3 threads. Second is at the time of marriage.
Correct.
See, the fellow, he's just as Mangalyam, Thirumangalyam is owned by a lady. This second 3 threads is owned by a person to establish that he is no longer a brahmachari. He has entered into Grihasthashrama. And the third 3 threads, normally a person wears it only when he gets a right to perform the last rites of his parents.
Anteshti.
Yeah, Anteshti. Because what happens, in Hinduism, see, this Anteshti ceremony for people can be performed only by a particular set of people. not by all. I can do the Antyeshti only for my parents. I cannot do, however friendly I am with any other person, however close I am with any other person, I am not permitted, I do not have the right to perform that. Therefore, this Antyeshti ceremony, a person when he performs, normally the third thread comes. This is one way. And there is one more explanation for that is that, I mean, this third, see, a person is always supposed to wear 2-3 vastras. So normally a person wears one vastra in the, only 2 vastras, one veshti and one towel. Therefore, third vastra people may not wear at times. Therefore, without a third vastra, a person is not expected to perform any work. So to ensure that this third 3 vastra also, this third 3 things,
Deep for this.
it is a third vasta. It is represents a third vasta also. See, this is how it is done. And even in why you want it in the morning, Savitri, Gayatri, Savitri and Saraswati. There are many explanations for that. Of course, from the environmental point of view, I really appreciate you. You have exactly touched all the subjects, all the matters that need to be thought of, like starting from a forest, how things change. And in Hinduism, the vriksha, the tree has a very, very special treatment, because if you observe one simple thing about the vriksha, I tell you, see, it takes water from the earth, it takes energy from the sun, but it is not either becoming water or it is not becoming sun. It has got its own form. Like that, as a person, we need to take everything from others, but we have to be of our own. We have got a different way of establishing ourselves. We have got a different way to grow. And each one is different from another. So this is what is, and this is, you will find that each tree is different from another. Therefore, in that context, I tell you, the environmental context and the Gayatri Mantra has been beautifully explained to you. Thanks to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your this. Thank you. Those beautiful thoughts, Yashpalji, Jambunathan. Thank you so much. Anybody else with any would like to share? All right, then I will be saying thank you so much for your time, and yes, I
Thank you.
look forward to more such sessions.
You all are free to share your feedback with Hamsini for such a beautiful presentation that she's put,
Thank you.
especially for us.
Thank you, Hamsini. That was really
Thank you.
great. Learned
Thank
a lot
you.
today, and hope to see more and hear